My siblings banned me from their weddings, so I banned them from mine. Hi, my name's Emily, and I'm the youngest of 5. Growing up with 4 much older siblings, Mike, Chris, Rachel, and Josh, often made me feel like I was from a totally different generation. By the time I was forming memories, they were moving out, going to college, starting jobs, living their lives. I was just the little kid left behind. Still, I adored them. When you're the youngest, your older siblings feel like superheroes. I used to think Mike, the oldest, could do anything. Chris was more serious, but I respected him. Rachel, my only sister, was who I dreamed of becoming. And Josh, the youngest of the older ones, was close enough in age that I thought maybe, just maybe, we could actually connect. But that connection never really happened. The first time I truly felt left out was at Mike's wedding. I was 10. You know, that weird age where you're not quite a little kid, but still not quite grown up. When Mike and his fiancée Sarah announced they were having a child-free wedding, I didn't think it applied to me. I was his sister after all. I remember sitting in our living room, bubbling with excitement. I'd even asked my mom if I could borrow one of her necklaces for the big day. That's when she gently broke the news. Mike and Sarah are having an adults-only wedding. Emily. You're not going. I was stunned. But I'm not like other kids, I pleaded. I'll be quiet, I promise. She just smiled softly and patted my head. It's just for adults, sweetie. You'll understand when you're older. But I didn't understand. I cried in my room for hours. Mike was my brother. I wanted to be there, to see him get married, to watch Sarah, who already felt like family, walk down the aisle. But instead, I stayed home with a babysitter, staring at the clock, wondering what I was missing. When Mike came back from his honeymoon, I hoped he'd say something. Maybe even apologize, or tell me a funny story from the ceremony. He didn't. It was like I didn't even exist. 2 years later, Chris got engaged. I was 12. This time, I was sure things would be different. I was more mature now, quiet, well-behaved, respectful. I didn't whine or make scenes. But again, same story. Chris and his fiancée want an adults-only wedding, Emily. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. It felt incredibly personal. Twice now, I'd been told I wasn't welcome. That my presence, my existence, was a problem to be solved. I didn't cry this time. I just sat quietly as my parents gave their excuses. You'll have your own wedding one day, my mom offered. But that didn't help. Because I was slowly realizing my siblings didn't see me as family, at least not the way I saw them. When Rachel got engaged, I was 15. I had a tiny sliver of hope. At first, she didn't even plan on banning kids from her wedding. She wanted it to be open and warm. But then the relatives got involved. Aunts and uncles complained. Oh, it's so nice to have a wedding without kids screaming and running around. Children just ruin the atmosphere. Eventually, Rachel gave in. The new rule? No one under 16. I was 15. So close it felt cruel. I asked her, begged even. Can I please be the exception? I'm your sister. I promise I'll behave. She looked at me with a stone-cold expression and said, If I make an exception for you, then I'd have to make an exception for everyone. It wouldn't be fair. Fair. That was the moment I snapped. It's not fair that I've been banned from all your weddings. I'm not just some random kid, I'm your sister. The fallout was instant. My parents stepped in. I got grounded for 6 months for disrespecting Rachel and causing drama. So I spent half a year in my room, stewing in hurt and resentment. And by the time Josh got engaged, I was 17. I didn't even ask. I already knew how it would go. When Josh's wedding announcement came with the usual child-free rule, I didn't even flinch. No crying. No begging. No pretending I didn't already know how this would go. At that point, I was numb to it. But what really stung? My cousin Amanda, who had just turned 18, was invited. Apparently, 18 was the magical age where you became worthy of attending a family wedding. Amanda was only a few months older than me, but somehow that made all the difference. The irony didn't escape me. When my parents asked why I didn't make a big fuss or congratulate Josh properly, I just shrugged. I shot him a quick text. Congrats. Hope it's a great day. Then I locked myself in my room. Like always. By then, I'd already started to emotionally check out. It was becoming painfully clear I didn't matter to them. I wasn't their little sister. I was just a kid, an afterthought. And yeah, it hurt. A lot. Years passed. No more weddings. No more disappointments. But something inside me had shifted. I stopped trying to wedge myself into their lives. I was tired. Tired of being left out. Tired of being the little sister who only mattered when it was convenient. By the time I met Tyler, my now fiancé, I'd emotionally distanced myself from the whole family dynamic. I didn't expect much from them anymore. Tyler was the first person who actually listened when I opened up about it. I remember sitting on his couch, telling him how I'd been left out of 4 weddings. He looked stunned. Wait, not even when you were, like, 15? Nope, I said, trying to act like it didn't bother me anymore. His face twisted in disbelief. What the hell? You're their sister. He just shook his head. That's seriously messed up. And that's when it hit me. He was right. It was messed up. I had spent so many years convincing myself it was reasonable. Child-free weddings sound fair, right? It's not like they were targeting me, right? Except they were. For weddings. For chances to include me. And not one of them thought, hey, maybe Emily should be there. That's not normal. That's not family. So, when Tyler and I got engaged a few years later, I knew one thing for sure. My wedding was going to be different. It would be filled with people who actually cared about me, people who wanted to be there because they loved me, not because it was expected. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't inviting my siblings. There was no big announcement, no dramatic speech, no angry group text. I just left them off the guest list. Simple as that. I knew it would explode eventually, but I decided I'd deal with the fallout when it came. And it came. About 2 months before the wedding, my mom called me out of the blue. Her voice was weirdly cheerful. That fake, overly sweet tone she uses when she wants something. So, Emily, she said, how are the wedding plans coming along? Good, I replied cautiously. Everything's almost ready. That's great, she said. Then came the pause. Your brothers and sister, they haven't gotten their invitations yet. Did you send them out already? My heart started pounding. I really didn't want to have this conversation yet. Yeah, I said, trying to sound casual. They've all gone out. She didn't miss a beat. Well, they didn't get one. Maybe it got lost in the mail. I took a breath and finally said it. Mom, I didn't invite them. Silence. A long, heavy pause. Then came the explosion. What? Emily, how could you not invite your own siblings? What's wrong with you? I gripped the phone and tried to keep my voice steady. They didn't invite me to their weddings, Mom. Not a single one. So I'm just doing the same. Her voice turned cold and furious. That was different. You were young. They didn't mean to hurt you. I let out a bitter laugh. Well, it did hurt, and I'm done pretending like it didn't. Cue the guilt trip. Emily, you're being spiteful. Family is family. You don't just shut people out like this. What will people think? And there it was, her favorite line. What will people think? I cut her off. I don't care what people think, Mom. This is my wedding, and I'm only inviting people who truly care about me. They didn't care enough to include me back then, so I don't see why they deserve to be part of this now. She hung up on me. I wasn't surprised. Later that night, the group chat blew up. First came Rachel, fake as ever. Hey, Em. Something must have happened with the mail. We didn't get our invites yet. Then Chris, blunt and direct. What's going on? Why weren't we invited? I stared at my phone for a long time. Part of me wanted to tell them everything, to finally lay it all out. But another part of me knew it wouldn't matter. They wouldn't get it. They never had. So I didn't reply. I just left the chat on read. Tyler noticed I was quiet at dinner. He didn't push, just gently asked, Everything okay? I handed him my phone, showing him the messages from my siblings. He read through them, then looked at me with that calm certainty he always has. You don't owe them anything, Em. They made their choices. I know, I said, hesitating. But they're going to make me look like the bad guy. I know it. Let them, he said firmly. You know the truth. That's what matters. The next day, my parents showed up. Unannounced. I didn't need to ask why they were there. My mom came storming through the door the second I opened it. What on earth are you thinking, Emily? Not inviting your own siblings to your wedding? What kind of person does that? I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm, even though my patience was running thin. Mom, I already told you. They didn't think I was important enough to invite to their weddings. So, I'm not inviting them to mine. Then my dad spoke up, his voice low and disapproving. You're being childish, Emily. Holding on to something that happened years ago. That's when I snapped. I was a child when they did it, Dad. I begged to go to those weddings, and they all shut me out. Don't talk to me about being childish when I was the one left home crying 4 times. They didn't have an answer. My mom's eyes welled up, like she was about to cry, but I didn't let it sway me this time. You can keep defending them if you want, but I'm not changing my mind. If they actually cared about me, they would have shown it back then. They left, frustrated and angry. Over the next few days, the messages from my siblings got uglier. Chris called me selfish. Rachel accused me of tearing the family apart. Josh didn't sugarcoat anything. You're being petty, Emily. Grow up. I didn't respond. I didn't owe them anything anymore. No explanations. No justifications. One night, while I scrolled through the flood of messages, Tyler pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you, he whispered, for standing up for yourself. And you know what? For the first time, I was proud of me too. After that first wave of drama, I figured things would settle down. They'd complain behind my back, maybe whine to a few cousins, and eventually move on. That's what usually happened when they didn't get their way. But this time, I underestimated how far they'd go. It started with a post. Of course it did. Rachel just couldn't help herself. Family is forever, even when some people forget what that word means. I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly got stuck. Tyler, sitting next to me on the couch, glanced at the post and scoffed. What is she, 14? Basically, I muttered, trying to brush it off. I kept telling myself it didn't matter. That I knew the truth. That I wasn't doing anything wrong. But it still got to me. It hurts when your own sister goes out of her way to take shots at you in public. And it didn't stop there. A few days later, little jabs started popping up in our extended family group chat. I'd muted it long ago, but Tyler checked his phone one afternoon and said, you might want to see this. The messages were rolling in. Rachel, it's sad when some people let petty grudges matter more than love. Chris, I just don't get it. I thought we were better than this. Then Mike, the eldest, always playing dad number 2, chimed in with his wisdom. I never realized how much bitterness you've been carrying, Emily. It's really sad to see you ruining relationships over something that happened so long ago. I stared at the screen, my blood boiling. They still didn't get it. They made it sound like I was blowing a tiny issue out of proportion, like I wasn't excluded my entire life. Part of me wanted to fire back. List every single thing they'd done. Spell it out in black and white. But I didn't, because I knew how that would go. They'd twist my words, make me out to be dramatic, unstable, bitter, anything but right. So, I did the one thing they never saw coming. I left the group chat. That night, my mom called. I knew she'd heard. She skipped the greetings and went straight to yelling. Emily, what is wrong with you? Hi, Mom, I said flatly. Don't start with that tone, she snapped. Do you even realize what you've done? Your siblings are heartbroken. You're tearing this family apart. I laughed bitterly. Heartbroken? They ignored me my whole childhood, and now they're heartbroken? Give me a break. You're being so spiteful, she shot back. You've always been like this, holding grudges, making everything about you. And that's when I lost it. I'm the one holding grudges? Mom, I was 10 when Mike got married. 10. I cried because I wanted to be there, and you all told me I didn't matter enough. And it didn't stop there. It happened again, and again, and again. I begged to go to Rachel's wedding. She said no, because it wouldn't be fair. That was years ago, she said dismissively. Yeah, and I still live with how it made me feel. You all decided I wasn't important back then. Why do you suddenly think you deserve front row seats to my life now? She didn't have an answer. Instead, she flipped the script. Classic move. This isn't about the weddings, Emily. This is about you pushing everyone away. I bet Tyler's behind this, isn't he? I groaned. Mom, stop blaming Tyler. He's not behind anything. This is about me finally realizing I deserve better than being treated like I don't matter. Emily, you don't understand. In the end, family is all you have. Friends, partners, they come and go. But family is forever. I looked at my mother and replied, firm and steady, no. Family is supposed to love you. Support you. That's not what you've been to me. She burst into tears, loud, dramatic sobs that felt more like manipulation than real emotion. One day you'll regret this, Emily, she choked out. You'll see. I don't think I will, I said quietly and hung up the phone. Over the next week, things spiraled. I had to block Rachel and Chris on social media. I'd had enough of the snide comments and guilt trips. My mom even called Tyler twice, hoping to talk some sense into him. He didn't pick up. Then, Mike sent me a full email. Yes, an actual email about forgiveness and the importance of family unity. He even quoted the Bible. I didn't respond. Later that night, Tyler and I sat down, and I vented everything. It's like they're determined to paint me as the villain, I said. They ignored me for years, and now that I've finally drawn a boundary, I'm the problem. Tyler looked at me and said something I'll never forget. They're not mad about the wedding invite. They're mad because they don't get to control you anymore. It hit me like a punch to the gut, because he was right. My entire life, I'd been the afterthought. Easy to dismiss, easy to ignore. But now, I was finally doing something for me, and they couldn't handle that. They'll get over it, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. Tyler just smiled and said, Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But either way, that's not your problem anymore. That was the moment I realized I didn't owe them anything. Not my time, not my energy, and certainly not an invitation to my wedding. A week later, my dad texted me, "Emily, your mom isn't doing well. She's very upset. Maybe you could reconsider." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, maybe she should have thought about that before she ignored me all those years. I hit send, then blocked his number. For the first time in years, I felt free. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a mix of excitement and tension. I was about to marry the love of my life, but the shadow of my family drama still lingered. They'd stopped calling me directly, probably because I'd blocked most of them, but others took their place. One day, my aunt called out of the blue. I hadn't heard from her in years. The second I picked up, she got right to it. "Emily, honey, I don't understand why you're making such a big deal out of this," she said in that sweet but condescending tone. "Family is family. It's not right to leave your siblings out of your wedding." I sighed and tried to stay calm. "Aunt Linda, this isn't just about the wedding. It's years of being excluded, overlooked, and forgotten. I'm not changing my mind." "But they didn't mean to hurt you," she insisted. "Can't you just be the bigger person?" I closed my eyes. Being the bigger person doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. Sometimes it means choosing yourself. She didn't have a response to that. Just a dramatic sigh. "I just hope you don't regret this someday. You might miss your family when they're gone." I didn't say a word. I just hung up. The morning of the wedding, I woke up with a strange mix of calm and nerves. It wasn't the usual, what if something goes wrong kind of feeling. It was more like waiting for a storm to hit. Even though they weren't invited, I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow my family would find a way to crash the day. But Tyler, being the amazing man he is, wasn't about to let me spiral. As we got ready separately, I told him how I felt, and he just smiled. "This day is about us," he said. "Nothing else matters. If anyone tries to ruin it, I'll personally show them the door." I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I felt lighter. The venue was perfect. Small, intimate, full of love. A garden with flowers in bloom, twinkle lights hanging from the trees, and a cozy little gazebo where we'd say our vows. This wasn't a big, flashy wedding. I didn't want one. I wanted something that felt real, and that's exactly what it was. My closest friends were there, along with a few extended relatives who had always treated me with kindness. It felt right. As I stood in front of the mirror in my dress, my best friend Jenna walked in. She smiled. "You look amazing, Em." "Thanks," I said softly, trying not to cry. She sat beside me. "You okay?" I hesitated. "Yeah, I think I'm just sad. Not about today. Today's perfect. But about them not being here." Jenna nodded. "It's okay to feel that. Just because it was the right choice doesn't mean it doesn't hurt." That hit me hard. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wanted them to care. When I was a kid, I wanted them to fight for me, and they never did. She hugged me. "You don't need their approval. You have people who love you. Focus on that." I nodded, taking a deep breath. She was right. When the ceremony began, all of my anxiety melted away. I saw Tyler waiting for me at the end of the aisle, and I knew this was it. This was what happiness felt like. As I walked toward him, I felt free. I wasn't the forgotten little sister anymore. I wasn't the girl who got left out over and over again. I was a bride, loved, seen, and celebrated. Our vows were everything I dreamed of. Tyler promised to love, protect, and always stand by me. And I promised the same. By the time we said "I do," there wasn't a dry eye in sight, including mine. The reception was pure joy. We danced until our feet hurt, laughed until our cheeks ached. My friends shared funny stories and heartfelt wishes for our future. And Tyler's parents, who had always treated me with warmth, told me they were proud to have me as their daughter-in-law. That night, as we sat under the stars, I thought about everything I'd left behind and everything I'd gained. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. There was a moment, just a quiet, stolen moment, when I slipped away from the crowd. I stood at the edge of the garden, watching the soft lights glimmer in the trees, hearing laughter echo through the night. And I just let myself breathe it all in. For years, I believed the lie my family told me, that I didn't matter, that I wasn't important enough to belong. But right then, surrounded by people who chose to love me, something clicked. I do matter. Just not to the people who never deserved a front row seat in my life to begin with. Later that night, as the celebration began to wind down, one of my cousins pulled me aside. "Hey, Emily," she whispered, glancing around. "I probably shouldn't say this, but..." I groaned. "What now?" She looked sheepish. "Your mom and Rachel apparently hosted a dinner tonight, like..." as an alternative to your wedding. I just stared at her for a second. And then I laughed. Really laughed. Are you serious? She nodded, embarrassed. I know. It's ridiculous. I just thought you should know. I shook my head, still smiling. Let them have their little pity party. I hope the food was good. She seemed surprised that I wasn't upset. But honestly, it just confirmed what I already knew. I made the right call. My family spent years shutting me out and calling it normal. But now that I was the one drawing boundaries, they couldn't handle it. At the very end of the night, Tyler and I shared one last dance. Everyone gathered around as we swayed together. I looked up at him and whispered, I'm so happy we did this. He smiled. Me too, Em. This is just the beginning. And for the first time, I truly believed it. My family wasn't there. They didn't get to see the happiest day of my life. But that was their loss, not mine. Because looking around that room, surrounded by laughter, love, and people who actually showed up for me, I realized everything I needed was already here. And none of it came from them. I honestly thought the worst was behind me after the wedding. The day had been perfect, better than I'd ever dreamed. And for the first time, I felt free from all the family chaos. I didn't miss them. Not at the ceremony. Not even for a second. I was finally surrounded by people who saw me, who valued me. And that was more than enough. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. My family hates being ignored. They couldn't stand the fact that I was happy without them. So, of course, they stirred the pot one last time. It started with a message from Rachel. A week after the wedding, she messaged me, because of course it was her. Saw some pics from your wedding. Can't believe you had it in a garden. Looked casual, but I guess that's what you wanted. I stared at the message, stunned. She couldn't even pretend to be nice. It wasn't enough to just stay quiet, she had to criticize something. For a second, I was tempted to fire back. Something about how her wedding might have been fancier, sure, but at least mine wasn't full of fake smiles and empty chairs. But I didn't, because I owed her nothing. Then came the messages from long-lost relatives, people I hadn't heard from in years. Turns out Rachel, Mike, and Chris were on a mission to make me the villain in their version of the story. Aunt Linda, yep, the same one who tried guilt-tripping me before the wedding, sent another message. Emily, I don't know what happened between you and your siblings, but they're really hurt. Rachel says she tried to reach out, and you ignored her. Maybe it's time to let go of the past. I sighed, rolled my eyes. How many times was I supposed to explain this? How many people did they need to recruit before they realized I wasn't backing down? Tyler noticed the look on my face. He sat down next to me, glancing at my phone. Another guilt trip? Yeah, Aunt Linda again. Apparently they're hurt. He let out a short laugh. Hurt because they can't control you anymore. I smiled faintly. He wasn't wrong. I just don't get it, I said. They ignored me for years. I begged to be included, and they shut me out. And now suddenly, I'm the bad guy for having boundaries. He looked at me gently. That's always how it goes. When you start protecting yourself, the people who hurt you are the first to play the victim. And then came the final blow. It was a lazy Sunday. Tyler and I were making brunch in our pajamas, laughing about burning the pancakes. And then there was a knock at the door. I froze. Somehow I knew it was her. Sure enough, I opened the door, and there she was. My mom. Drama already written across her face. Emily, she said, her voice heavy with disappointment. We need to talk. I sighed. Now's not a good time, Mom. She didn't care. She pushed the door open slightly, trying to come in. Tyler appeared behind me, calm but firm, resting his hand on my shoulder. Emily, please, she continued. This has gone far enough. Your siblings are devastated. Devastated? I asked, clenching my jaw. Is that what you call this? I took a breath and kept my voice steady. You don't get to show up and scold me like this, Mom. I invited the people who cared about me. They didn't make the cut. That's on them, not me. She looked genuinely stunned. Like it had never occurred to her that I might finally stand up for myself. They love you, Emily, she said, almost pleading. They're your family. I looked her straight in the eye. No, Mom. Family doesn't make you feel invisible. Family doesn't shut you out for years and then act entitled to your happiness when it's convenient. I spent my whole life trying to prove I mattered to them, and they never cared. I'm done. She blinked, speechless for once. Tyler stepped forward, his voice gentle but unshakable. I think it's time for you to go. My mom looked between us, some mix of heartbreak and resentment twisting on her face. You'll regret this, Emily, she said softly, like it was some kind of prophecy. One day you'll miss us, and we won't be there. I didn't flinch. No, Mom, I won't. Tyler closed the door behind her, and I stood there for a moment, letting it all sink in. I thought I'd feel guilty. But I didn't. I felt free. The next day, Chris texted me. Mom said she came to talk to you, and you slammed the door in her face. Real mature, Emily. You've turned into someone I don't even recognize. I stared at my phone. And you know what? He's right. I have changed. And I'm not sorry for it. I read the message aloud to Tyler, who immediately shook his head. Block them. You don't need that. And so I did. One by one. I blocked every sibling and relative who had joined the guilt tripping. That day, I realized something crucial. I didn't owe them my time, my energy, or even an explanation. For years, they had made me feel invisible. Now I was taking control. The weeks that followed were remarkably quiet. For the first time in a long time, without the constant messages and passive-aggressive comments, I finally felt like I could breathe. Tyler and I focused on settling into married life, decorating our cozy apartment, and planning our future. One night, as we sat on the couch watching a cheesy movie, Tyler turned to me. Do you regret it at all? Not having them at the wedding? I thought for a moment before shaking my head. No. I thought I would, but I don't. I spent so long trying to earn their approval, and for what? I don't miss them. I don't miss feeling like I'm not good enough. He smiled and squeezed my hand. Good. You deserve better. And he was right. I did deserve better. About a month after the wedding, I received one final message. This time, it was from Rachel's number, sent through a different phone since I had already blocked her. You've destroyed this family, Emily. I hope you're happy. I stared at the screen for a second before deleting the message. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I just felt done. Because I was happy. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing their approval, nor was I begging for scraps of love and attention. I was surrounded by people who cared about me, and that was enough. It always had been.